New Caledonia is an extraordinary strip of land surrounded by long barrier reefs and the unfathomable Pacific Ocean. Its vast lagoon holds a wealth of secrets waiting to be discovered. Scientists in Noumea are studying the behavior of sharks. These kings of the ocean are indispensable to the equilibrium of the underwater world.
Yes, bien joué les gars, excellent.
Soaring over the world's most beautiful lagoons and discovering the wide open spaces of this land. On the main island of Grande Terre, adventure is waiting for those who dare to live out their dreams. Lifou in the Loyalty Islands promises a voyage back in time to a world steeped in Kanak legends and deeply rooted traditions. Exploring Lifou in the Loyalty Islands means plunging into Melanesian culture in search of a lost age and getting a glimpse of the invisible spirit of the Kanaks. Marcel Lapachas is a child of the Jokin tribe.
Jokin, ça veut dire zo.
Jokin is Jo,
C'est la lance.
meaning spear, and Keen, meaning key.
Toi, tu es la lance. Quand tu
So,
rentres ici,
you're the spear.
bon, t'es la lance. Tu rentres, t'arrives.
When you come here, you arrive.
Fais ce que tu
You walk
veux.
around a bit,
Quand tu fais une connerie,
you do as you please, but when you mess up,
et t'auras
you'll need a
besoin
key to get out of the tribe.
pour sortir de la tribu. Ben moi, voilà.
So,
Peut-être moi, je saurais ta clé.
I'll be your key,
C'est moi
and I'll show you the way out.
qui va te diriger vers la
That's
sortie.
what Jokin means.
C'est ça un peu la signification de Jokin. Voilà.
There are not many beaches around the island, but there are coral reefs. They're a living treasure, and everyone here watches over them. Marcel protects his fishing spots, his underwater garden where he harvests what he needs: fish, lobster, giant clams.
I was born on Lifou. I'm not a little chief.
I'm
not a big chief, no. I'm just myself, no frills or anything. I keep it simple.
La nature ici sur Lifou, elle est
Nature here is generous here on Lifou. Nobody is dying of hunger. We have nature.
La nature, elle est là, il suffit
All you have to do is go out and serve yourself.
chercher ou quoi.
Kalemuelo mamangue, pene que la cuisine, pene que la iti huate, me mine la iti gutane juan, hana samida lo, hana samida que te ate.
La terre, elle est importante pour le Kanak parce qu'il a sa terre.
This is my land. The Kanak has his land. He doesn't need to go anywhere else. This is how I see things. I never felt the need to live anywhere else. I've always lived here. I made my choice.
C'est ici, voilà.
Hey, the court's over here.
It's summer in the South Pacific. During the school vacations, Marcel's nieces and nephews, who live in Noumea, an hour and a half away by plane, come to Lifou. So every summer, a dozen or so kids invade Uncle Marcel's house of happiness. It's also called the Beau Coin, the nice spot.
You see, we never get bored here. Ever since we were kids. Beaucoin is the name my father gave the house when he laid the first stone to build it.
They're preparing a family event away from prying eyes. Marcel wants to teach the children the secrets of making a bunya, a traditional Melanesian dish. Everyone pitches in with the preparation. They gather the ingredients, prepare the fire, choose the right banana leaves. Bunya is made with chicken, fish, and even bats. It's a traditional dish, rich with symbolism.
These are the first leaves you have to place in the bunya. You have to heat them to soften them up. As the children are here with us for the vacation, we'll take this opportunity to teach them how to cook bunya. Then they can eat it afterwards.
In front of the hut, everyone is working to make this event a solemn occasion. Bunya plays an important role in the social cohesion between the generations.
The family, the tribe's communal life, it's very important. We're always together in everyday life. And there may be some tension, sure, but the family, it's always the family.
The basis of this emblematic dish is the yam, a symbol of honor and respect. The yam plays a role in the founding myth of Melanesian society. According to a Kanak legend, at the beginning of the world, the moon tossed a yam cake wrapped in banana leaves into the ocean. And this gave birth to Tea Kanake, the first man. Tea Kanake asked the spirits to teach him how to survive on Earth. Thus man learned the secrets of nature and the magic of stones and plants. Ever since, man has been farming the land, and the yam has remained an important symbol in Kanak society. This story, handed down through the ages, is what binds the Melanesians to their land.
The tribe lives here, on the edge of the cliffs. We have the cliffs, we have the sunset, we have it all. This is why I stay here, in my home as well, where I live with my wife and children. That's what keeps me here. Here we say, I mind the house.
On dit, je garde la maison, voilà, c'est ça.
Every day in the late afternoon, Marcel heads into the forest to work his land or set traps for coconut crabs.
If it rains tonight, we'll go out. They come out when it rains. They don't like it if it's too dry, if there's no rain.
Marcel is spitting bits of coconut meat all around the trap, a simple but very efficient way of chumming for crabs.
We turn the coconut with the hole facing down, okay? So when the crab comes, it's not going to be easy for him to eat. It's going to take some time. We make it hard for the crab by putting the opening, you see, underneath.
Now we just hope that the humidity and the smell of the coconut draw the crabs out of their holes. When night falls, Marcel checks his trap lines, just like a fur trapper.
Ah, ben voilà.
Look, this trap here, it has a crab on it.
Chopé un, là, trouvé un crabe. Mais ça, c'est moyen, il y a des plus gros que ça.
But it's not very big.
Voilà ou quoi,
You see, they get a lot bigger than that.
faut avoir de la
It takes a lot of force to try to pry them off. This one is, it's average size. Here are the claws, and the mouth between the two claws. And it uses these smaller claws here, you see, to scrape out the coconut meat through the hole we made and carry it to its mouth. It can break anything, pierce your skin and flesh, and then even crush your bones, even your fingers.
Et puis casser les os, quoi. Casser carrément les doigts de main.
Even my wrist. If it manages to grab my wrist, he can break it. That's for sure. But that's the more bigger ones.
There are no streams or rivers on Lifou. To get fresh water, the islanders have to climb down to an amazing reservoir of crystal clear water. The caves of Lifou are ritual sites. Some are connected to the ocean, and they are mostly unexplored. Marcel is going to enter the Ranono grotto. Angèle, a member of the site's caretaker clan, is guiding him. The site is taboo. To enter, one must pay homage to the spirits of the ancestors.
The two stones here symbolize two women, the invisible spirits. You have to perform the ritual gesture. Angèle told me to deposit leaves and stones to request the protection of the two guardians of the cave. So that's why we perform the ritual gesture. It's a sign of respect. In performing the ritual, we feel their presence. It's moving.
20 meters beneath the forest floor, the entrance to the grotto is nearly invisible. For generations, the members of Angèle's tribe have been coming here to draw their drinking water. These reservoirs are fed by rainwater that seeps down through the porous limestone soil. This geological feature of Lifou has allowed people to settle permanently in the Loyalty Islands by providing them with a source of fresh water. In these huge hollows, nature and time have sculpted underwater cathedrals and created these eerie, surreal landscapes. In New Caledonia, everyone respects the taboo sites and the sacred spirit of the ancestors. The traditions and practices are transmitted in secret by word of mouth in the chief's longhouses.
Le cœur de la vie.
The tribe is the heart of life here. Yes, there are other lives, other worlds, beyond the horizon. But I like it here, within the tribe. I have no regrets, and that's how life is. This is my life. I'm at home in my tribe. And that's pretty cool.
The island of Lifou is steeped in the Kanak spirit. Coming here is an encounter with the Melanesian soul and the free, generous beings that live here, like Marcel Lapachas, a man indispensable to the happiness of his family and all the children of the Jokin tribe. From Marcel's tribe in the Loyalty Islands to the lost valleys of Grande Terre, it's a 2-hour flight that transports us into another world. The center of the main island is a territory of mountains, forgotten forests, and inaccessible rivers. This is an island still tinged with adventure. Oana LaRue seems like she's running on pure adrenaline. She could have been Californian or Australian if her grandfather hadn't decided to settle in New Caledonia in the 1970s. The entire family has stayed ever since. This horsewoman is a student in Noumea. Whenever she gets the opportunity, she leaves the city to go galloping with Mina, her trusty mare.
This is where I was born and raised, so of course I'm right at home here. I really can't picture myself living anywhere else. You never know what the future has in store for you, but I think it would be hard for me to leave Caledonia for good. This is how I want to live my life, doing what I want, when I want, and not having to answer to anyone.
The inland territory on the main island is called La Brousse, the bush. Most of the people who live there, the Broussards, are descendants of the early French colonists, the Caldoches. Oana is quite familiar with this world where the myth of the Caledonian Wild West lives on. To satisfy her craving for the extreme, Oana practices free fly, a discipline of free fall. It takes place in the fleeting moments of weightlessness just before opening the parachute. Before every jump, Oana rehearses the figures she's going to execute.
This is a passion to go even further, a desire to test your limits, a desire for an adrenaline rush. It's a number of things. I need all that. All my activities revolve around it. I can't see myself spending an entire day in front of my computer. I need my nature, my freedom. I need my activities. It's very important to me. While we're going up in the plane, if we're doing a jump that's a little new, we'll run through the movements, like when we have to grab onto each other, etc. Then when it's time to jump, we don't think about anything anymore. We know exactly what we have to do. We're completely isolated in our own little bubble. This is quite simply one of the most beautiful spots on Earth. There are not many places where you get to jump over such a stunning landscape. We're really lucky here.
On est des grands privilégiés ici. Ça va très vite, mais finalement...
It goes very quickly and then you land. But you manage to savor every second of the jump, so it seems to last a long time. That's the magic. It transforms 1 minute into a lasting moment.
En un long moment.
Every person has a favorite element. I feel great up there. I think it's my element. I feel like I'm flying. I feel wonderful.
Je suis bien dedans, quoi. Je me sens bien dedans, donc je pense que
As if I were in total osmosis with the air.
Oana is heading for the west coast and the land of the stockmen, as the Caledonian cattle raisers are known, in reference to the cowboys of nearby Australia. Horseback is a good way to go meet the stockmen.
Hey. Allez. Allez, là.
Cindy Baronet grew up with horses and cattle in a rural environment where children learn to ride at the age of 3.
Oh, là.
Now Cindy runs the Noumea farm.
C'est vraiment dans le sang, en fait.
It's something that's in your blood.
Mode de vie qu'on a connu.
Our parents and grandparents brought us up in this way of life.
Nous ont fait découvrir, nos parents nous ont fait
And we want to carry it on, to perpetuate it.
de perpétuer, de continuer, c'est vraiment
It's a way of life.
ce mode de vie, vraiment. Oh là. Oh là.
The world of the stockmen has lost nothing of its authenticity. Cindy has 120 hectares of grazing land for her 40-odd head of cattle and horses.
Galope, Biwan. Allez, galope.
Cindy studied ethology, animal behavior. She trains her horses herself.
C'est bien. Galope, galope, galope. Galope, galope. Galope. Allez, tourne, tourne. Galope. Oh là. Oh là là, le moindre petit...
The slightest movement has meaning for her.
Je veux dire quelque chose pour elle. Si moi je me positionne...
In my position, if I move towards her, she'll gallop. If I move back, she slows down.
Et eux, ils communiquent comme ça entre
That's how horses communicate amongst themselves, by gestures and body
Le
movements.
principe de l'éthologie, voilà, c'est ça, c'est d'essayer de comprendre ça. Et
Understanding and reproducing this form of communication is the basis of ethology.
c'est vraiment intéressant parce que tous les chevaux sont différents en fait.
It's very interesting because each horse is different.
Caractères différents.
They each have their own personality. They learn slower or faster,
Et donc, du coup, tous les
so
chevaux,
each way of training will be
l'atterrissage,
different.
sera différent. C'est bien.
Oana used to do competitive equitation and jumping as well. She and Cindy share the same passion for horses, but in very different activities.
Oh là. Là, c'est la Calédonie.
This is the heartland of New Caledonia. The ranch, the training corral, the stockyard, the paddocks, the horses.
La Calédonie, c'est un endroit
There's a lot of cattle raising in Caledonia, so of course we need horses.
Forcément, on a besoin des chevaux. Donc c'est une partie
They're an integral part of life here.
Keep driving them, Cindy. I'll go ahead.
In the dust of these parched lands, the two horsewomen have come to help Ghislain Santa Cruz round up part of his herd.
I'm going ahead, okay? Keep them coming.
Santa Cruz is one of Cindy's neighbors. He's something of a local legend and a notorious loudmouth. He has a herd of around 1,000 head of cattle, and the iron will that goes along with it.
Bring him this way. No, to the left. To the foot of the hill.
Here, between mountain and lagoon, the drought has not spared his herd.
We're just praying it'll rain. How long can we hold out? All the cows here are calving right now. In a month, I'll have another 300 calves. 300. That's a lot. I remember some years when they'd kill the calves at birth to save the mothers. I really wouldn't want it to get to that point, well enough to be able to feed them, but I have seen years when they'd kill the newborn calves for the sake of the mothers. Well, if everyone does their job, the cows will be well kept, as they say. Oana, let him through. Come on.
In this heat, they have to coax the herd gently, keep the weakened animals from running, and figure out the boss's bellowed orders.
These are wide open spaces. The idea is to channel the cattle so none of them veer off to the side. It's very tricky. There's a lot of brush and the animals get into it. We don't always see them. I'm used to working with little herds of small, calm cows. This herd is huge, so it's not the same job. It needs several hands. It's not the same work. It's no picnic.
Allez, allez, vas-y, pousse, Maxi, pousse, pousse, pousse. Allez, 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 allez. Pas trop vite, pas trop vite, va te passer derrière. Voilà, question. Allez, 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 allez. Regarde, comme ça.
Now watch, there. You see?
T'as vu?
Ah
T'as vu?
ouais, c'est le plus gros.
I'll try with the big one.
Jamais elle bien le gros. Ah si, mais
Yeah,
elle est forte, la gosse,
this
là.
girl is strong.
Testostérone.
There's a lot of testosterone in this business. It's a very, very masculine milieu. As a girl, it's not easy to prove yourself. Cindy really knows what she's doing. She's managed to earn their respect. That's good.
C'est bien.
Oana passed the initiation to Cindy's world, the rough and tumble world of the stockmen. After this taste of Cindy's everyday life, Oana can't wait to get back to the sky and the exhilaration of speed and altitude.
Take a deep breath. We leave the plane, you maintain your position.
This morning, it's Oana's turn to invite Cindy into her world. She wants Cindy to share a unique experience, the thrill of a parachute jump over one of the world's most beautiful lagoons, along with their instructor, Maxime.
It's great to turn someone onto a new experience. Afterwards, you take the plunge yourself or not, but I think it's really worth sharing.
plane has reached an altitude of 4,000 meters. The free fall will last 50 seconds. At close to 200 kilometers per hour, the speed deforms the body and sets your cheeks flapping. It's an intense, fleeting moment of pure, extreme sensations. From the sky or from a hilltop, the view of Cindy and Oana's land down under is breathtaking. A vast expanse of matchless beauty where adventure is never very far away. In New Caledonia, the mountains in the region of the Stockmen overlook the immense Barrier Reef, one of the most beautiful in the world. The wealth of underwater life makes the reefs an ideal field of study for marine biologists. These unspoiled reefs are home to large schools of sharks. Germain Boussary, a French marine biologist, has decided to spend his time and energy in the study of shark behavior. Noumea is an isolated parcel of land in the Loyalty Islands. In the tradition of this atoll, the shark is an emblematic sacred animal. It is even the protective totem of several clans on the island. Just the thing to arouse Germain's curiosity. Ever since his childhood in the south of France, he's dreamed of living a life dedicated to the underwater world and the shark, king of the oceans.
For most people, sharks are frightening animals. They're both respected and feared, whereas they are, in fact, just animals that you have to treat with a lot of respect, because they are, after all, predators. I mean, a shark isn't sad. It's neither cruel nor kind. It's just an animal that feeds on its prey. I would like to show everyone that being afraid of them is not going to protect the sharks. It's by diving with them, going to see them. I think it's something that everyone should get a chance to do.
In Kanak culture, the land and the sea belong to the tribes. So before undertaking any project in Noumea, Germain must ask permission of the elders of the Mouli tribe. The elders here tell that the sharks once saved their ancestors by guiding their pirogues through the reefs. Ever since, anyone who hunts them is cursed with misfortune and disease. Beneath the chief's longhouse of Mouli, Germain has come to request permission to approach the sharks. Respecting the custom means humbly asking for the protection of the elders.
As I enter the chief's foray here in Mouli, I bow before you. I come with the utmost humility to share with you a very moving personal moment.
Venir partager avec vous ce moment qui pour moi est très fort. C'est avec beaucoup d'émotion du coup que je viens vous offrir.
I perform this ritual with you with a great deal of emotion.
Avec votre accord.
With your permission, we hope to dive and meet these animals on their own territory, to deepen our knowledge of them in a habitat where they are truly protected and have thus maintained their natural behavior. There we can take notes and attempt to understand why we humans have such a great impact on sharks.
You have things to do. If you can call on the inhabitants of Mouli, you will be able to do these things. The door is open to you.
An exchange of words and an exchange of gifts. Germain has gained access to the ritual path.
You are welcome here. Thank you.
In his 6 months living here in New Caledonia, Germain has been discovering the riches of the Kanak culture. The island of Noumea is located on the edge of the Coral Sea. It's home to large schools of sharks. Germain has come to this remote corner of the Pacific to dive with these great predators.
This is going to be a great dive. Look, there. You see, just below the surface? Wonderful. Another one. And there's a younger one. Look at the big one.
He has to see you.
Marino is a native son of Noumea and an excellent diver. He has agreed to show us his secret spots that are literally swimming with sharks.
Be a shark.
Germain is going to profit from Marino's experience. The young scientist is very concentrated. He's getting ready for an encounter like no other in the animal world.
I felt so small in the midst of those sharks. It really hits you in a moment like that. They're really the lords of the sea. When you're in the middle of 20 or 30 sharks, you have a certain respect. They're curious. They come over to take a look at you. You're something new for them. I tried to disappear down there. I felt good. I forgot everything. Time, gravity. Down there with those sharks circling me. I tried to put myself in their place, to understand them, to see how they might react. These are potentially dangerous animals with big sharp teeth, so of course they frighten kids and everybody else. But in the end, they're magnificent, harmless animals when you enter their habitat, when you go down to observe them. As you get to know them, you realize that they are just living beings and have no interest in humans.
Germain, like all scientists, knows that it is urgent to protect sharks. They are one of the ocean's most vulnerable and endangered species. In New Caledonia's Coral Sea Natural Park, shark fishing has been totally prohibited since 2013.
Super. C'était beau. Il faut pas oublier qu'on est juste.
We have to remember that these animals merely tolerate us in the oceans, in the lagoon. They're the lords of the sea, and they call the shots down there.
Moi, je pars du principe que pour les observer,
I work on the principle that to observe them,
un petit peu rentrer en dialogue avec
to
eux,
establish a dialogue with them,
comprendre leur comportement.
I have to assume a neutral approach,
Un état neutre, une approche neutre, et
to do nothing unnatural to provoke an interaction with them.
pour interagir avec eux de manière non naturelle.
Germain has always dreamed of traveling, of adventure and science. This morning he's leaving Noumea to go to Noumea on Grande Terre, the main island. The young 24-year-old scientist is beginning his marine biology thesis on sharks and has recently joined the APEX project, an ambitious undertaking of the New Caledonia's Institute of Research and Development, the IRD. The IRD researchers have proven that the shark population around the inhabited areas of New Caledonia has dropped by 90%, with dramatic consequences on the reefs, as well as for the future of the oceans. In this remote corner of the world, a team of scientists is working to prove that man influences the behavior of sharks, which are indispensable for the equilibrium of the oceans. This is the goal of the oceanographic mission to which Germain is wholly committed. A 3-hour boat trip to the south is the Amédée Lighthouse. Today's mission is to catch and release gray or white-pointed sharks.
On va viser le tombant et de toute façon ça dérive parallèle au récif, donc il n'y a pas de problème.
For a year now, the IRD team has been carrying out regular missions at sea in order to implant sharks with radio tags and take samples of their DNA.
Note down the tag number, 57786.
This technique will allow the scientists to track the sharks from a distance. They've already tagged about 100 specimens with this radio device, but in areas quite far from human activity. As they make new captures closer to Noumea, they'll be able to cross-reference the data that they've gathered.
We know that if the sharks disappear from New Caledonia's lagoon, the biodiversity will drop, as will the productivity of the fish. So, of course, the coral will not be as beautiful. All the fishermen who have been to those remote areas say that in a spot where there are fish, there will be a lot of sharks. That's a normal situation for an ecosystem, a lot of sharks. If the sharks disappear, then it all disappears. If we want to preserve the vast lagoon with all its riches, we have to try to preserve the sharks.
Ok. Tu me dis, on est bon?
We okay? Let's go.
Allez, c'est parti. Allez, on croise les doigts.
Like all fishermen, the scientists need a good dose of patience.
This is the first time we're fishing in a zone so close to human activity. We've been here for 2 hours. I think we could be here all day. I hope we get at least one. That's how it is. When we go out to virgin territory, we throw in the line and in 30 seconds we get a shark. We release it and 5 minutes later we catch another one. Here we go. Wait, wait. We got a hit. We hooked into a little shark. He's not tugging too hard. We'll go as fast as we can so as not to hurt him. We have to go quickly. Now we'll ease him into the harness, take all our samples, then let him go. Good news. We've been out here for 3 hours and this is our first fish.
The shark is putting up a fight. The operation has to be done quickly. They mustn't tire the shark.
Okay, we're good here. We've got him.
It's a tricky moment for the shark, immobilized at the surface of the water. Germain has only a few minutes to measure the fish and take his blood and DNA samples. Then he has to make the incision to implant the radio tag.
A little to starboard. That will give him some oxygen. He's okay there. He won't feel a thing on his fin. I'm going to take a little sample.
La nageoire du requin va contenir de l'ADN.
The fin contains DNA. With it, we'll be able to work out the genetic relationship with other sharks we've sampled. We'll learn where they migrate for reproduction. This second bit of fin will allow us to deduce the shark's feeding habits, whether he goes to feed out in the open sea or in the lagoon, etc.
Okay.
I'm inserting the radio tag.
Tag is placed in the gray shark's belly. It will emit a signal for 4 years. It's time to release the fish without harming it. For Germain, the operation was a success. Each capture is a victory for the scientists, and each release is a very moving moment that gives full meaning to their research.
Great work, guys. Well done. It's an unnatural encounter. We catch the shark, so we have a certain domination over it. I prefer the shark to be underwater, at ease in his own element, and I visit his habitat rather than the other way around. It gives you a kind of adrenaline rush. You have to keep under control to keep working calmly and efficiently. Most important, you mustn't hurt the shark. We're always happy when the shark swims off unharmed.
In a few months, 200 sharks will be equipped with radio tags. The data gathered will be a gold mine of information. It will allow the scientists to determine the maritime zones that need to be preserved as sanctuaries for the sharks. In New Caledonia, the scientific community has given itself 4 years to solve the mystery of the disappearance of the reef sharks, indispensable to the equilibrium of the lagoons.
My dream for the future would be to continue this way of life, to continue protecting the sharks, to observe them, and make people aware that it's possible to live with them, to leave them alone, to let them play their role of predator. I know that in 10 years, I'll still be working with sharks.